Hello everyone, welcome back to the book station. I am Sanjana. If you're new here, thank you for joining and do hit the subscribe button if you want to watch more videos from my channel. Today I'm filming something very different that I've not spoken about earlier, that is audiobooks. So lately I've gotten to the habit of listening to a few audiobooks and I'm loving it. So I thought I would share a few audiobook recommendations with all of you who are a little lazy and also who don't find time to read physical books. Without further ado, let's get started. All of these audiobooks can be found on the Audible page called stories.audible.in. I'll leave the right link in the description. But this is very different from the free subscription of Audible that you get. And also, this video is not sponsored by Audible. I'm just sharing this out of my own interest. And the first book that I want to talk about is Alice in Wonderland, that is The Adventures of Alice in Wonderland, which is narrated by Scarlett Johansson. This story is obviously very popular. You would have even watched the movies. But what makes this audiobook amazing and hilarious is the narration by Scarlett Johansson, her modulation, voice modulation, and the animation that she brings into the characters actually brings forth the real characters in your mind. And this is suitable not just for young listeners but also for adults as well. So, this is a good place to start off with audiobooks. The second book that I listened to was Anne of Green Gables, and this is also adapted into the Netflix series named Anne with an E. So, Anne of Green Gables is a very entertaining, interesting book, and this is the story of Anne Shirley Cuthbert. So, Morella and Matthew Cuthbert are very old siblings, and they need someone who can help them out in the farm work. So they decide to adopt a boy of 10 or 11 years old. But the orphanage, unfortunately or fortunately for Anne, sends a girl named Anne Shirley Cuthbert, who later becomes Cuthbert, but Anne Shirley. So she is a very thin, meek girl, meek-looking girl, but she has this wild imagination, and which is one of her problems. The second is that she cannot stop talking. So when she comes to Green Gables, she is ecstatic and she's so overwhelmed by everything around her, and she talks and talks and talks to Matthew, and who actually develops a connection with her immediately, and so does not tell her that they were not expecting a girl. But when Marilla sees Anne, she is absolutely shocked. So at first they decide to send Anne back, but finally they accept her. And this story is about a young orphan girl trying to adapt and live in a world that is very alien to her. And also, what sets Anne apart from everyone else is her wild imagination, her passion for learning, her stories of adventure, and her ambition. And there is a second book as well, which I've not read, but if you listen to this audiobook and watch the Netflix series named Anne with an E, I think you will definitely fall in love with this well written story. The third book that I listened to is Frankenstein by Mary Shelley, which is narrated by Dan Stevens on Audible. And I would recommend this book to anyone who is not interested in reading classics. Yes, I understand a few of you don't like reading classics because the language might sound very heavy and might seem very ancient. So audiobooks have come to your rescue. So please do listen to this amazing story of creation and of the relationship between the creation and the creator, and how the creator fears the creation. And Frankenstein is obviously a story that is very famous, adapted into movies and series and films as well. But reading the classic version gives you a lot of insight into the ideas that the author has put in when she started writing this book. The fourth book that I'm currently listening to is Brave New World. So, people who have enjoyed listening or reading 1984 by George Orwell and The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood, you would definitely love Brave New World because it's dystopian in nature, and it talks about the controlling nature and how man wants to human beings in general want to overcome every other force of nature. So Brave New World, as far as I've listened to, is about a conditioning center where human beings are curated, I would say, and they are conditioned according to the societal needs, according to the strata of the society into which they will be later on put into. And I can't speak about it entirely because I'm just listening to it, but I can vouch for it that it's going to be amazing. I've read 4 chapters by now, listened to 4 chapters by now, and it is quite amazing and scary as well. And there are also other audiobooks that you can listen to on the page that I'm referring to. You can listen to Shakespeare's Hamlet, Romeo and Juliet, books of Jane Austen. You can also listen to The Scarlet Letter, which is a seminal work in American literature. You can listen to The Call of the Wild and many more books. There are books for young listeners, teenagers, and there are also many fairy tales as well. So I hope you enjoy listening to most of these audiobooks. And like I said, this video is not sponsored at all. I'm just sharing this out of my own interest. And that is all for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, then please do hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. And I will see you in the next video. Until then, listen to a book. Bye-bye. The narration by Scarlett Johansson. But unfortunately, or coincidentally or incidentally, the by Alberts. Without further ado, let's get started.